getting out of your comfort zone. Do you know what that means? Does anybody here know? What do you think it means? Yes, how do you?
Maybe it means like get out of like just like sitting there and doing nothing. It's actually like.
Yes, that's right. It means getting up and doing things. That's right. What else does it mean?
It means that like force yourself to do more harder things.
Force yourself to do harder things. That's an excellent answer. Yes.
Trying like things that you've never tried before. Like
Yes, things that you've never tried before. Very good. Yes.
taking risks.
Taking risks. Very good. That's an excellent answer. And
Challenge yourself.
challenge yourself. Very good. Yeah. So if we get out of our comfort zone, we do all of those things. And I hope you can see that tiny little figure standing at the foot of that incredible mountain. That's an experience that I have had about 40 times in my life, because for me, I do like to challenge myself, and I've always been fascinated by climbing and by adventure. And that began when I was a very young boy, 12 years old, and it began through reading. In fact, my journey to becoming an explorer began through books. And what I want this presentation to do is to make you even more positive about reading, because reading changed my life in a very positive way. And you can find that reading can change your life in a positive way as well. Now, this is our first photograph. Let's start our journey here. And I wonder if you can imagine how it would feel if that tiny figure there was actually you. Imagine that it was you standing at the bottom of the mountain, looking up. Just all of those emotions in your heart. How would you feel in that moment? Put up your hands and tell me if it really was you. Yes? Excited, that's right. That's the start of the journey, isn't it? Excitement, yes?
A little overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed, a good answer as well.
A little bit nervous.
Nervous, yeah, that's actually important to be nervous, because otherwise you are dangerous. You need the fear to keep you alive, yes? Amazed, that's right, yes. And what else would you feel in that moment? Any other thoughts? How about, what can you think of in respect of the different sizes and proportions of these two objects, a human being and a mountain? Yes?
Maybe
Anyone at the back? We haven't had much answers from the back. Yes, how about you?
tiny.
Small. You feel small. You feel tiny like a little dot in that environment. So that's the world we're going into during the course of this brief presentation. So it is a fascinating world, but it's also a world in which, now how do I advance that? If I'm a filmmaker, or wants any advice about being a filmmaker, then I have a lot of experience of this because I've been doing it for 20 years. And if you wanted some advice about how to get started as a filmmaker, or as a writer, then one of the things is that I'm here for quite a few hours, and you could actually come and look for me in the library or whatever, and I'll be able to give you some advice about it.
There is this session in the library that is free. You will
Yes.
just be in the library and
Yeah.
people can come to you.
Yes, great.
And that's
That would be super. So being a filmmaker has been wonderful. It's given me an experience to go all around the world, and this gives you an idea of the type of journeys that I've been making to Antarctica and South America, and filming in Alaska, in North America, and in Africa, Asia, and South. Camera with tiny, titchy little buttons. I took off the first layer of gloves. I could feel the cold beginning to bite. Have you ever, do you eat fish fingers in Japan? Fish fingers? Do you eat fish fingers here? Yes? Have you ever taken frozen fish out of the freezer? You know how hard it is? Yes, it's like rock. It's like rock. That's how hard your fingers go if you get frozen with frostbite, like it's just come out of a freezer. I took off the second layer of gloves. I still couldn't do the filming, the camera buttons were still too small. And then I realised I had to take off the third layer of gloves. And I did the filming, I put the gloves back on, and when I got back down to base camp, I was so frightened to take off my gloves because I knew that something was wrong. And I took off the gloves and my heart sank. That finger was frozen from the very top all the way down to the bottom. That one was frozen 2/3 of the way down. And with us, we had the local people of Nepal, the Sherpa people, who are courageous, wonderful, and talented climbers. They go with you onto the mountain. And one of those men looked at my fingers, and a great big smile came across his face. He said, "You've got a problem, Mr. Matt." I said, "Yeah, I know." He said, "You've got a problem, but I can help you." And I was so relieved. I was so happy that my friend was going to help me. It was a great feeling of joy and relief. He said, "Yes, just put your fingers on the edge of the table there, Mr. Matt." So I put my fingers down on the edge, put them on the edge of the table like that. I was looking at my friends looking at me, and then that man walked over. He undid the bag and he pulled out a saw, a jagged-toothed saw with razor-sharp teeth. He said, Mr. Matt, let me chop off your fingers for you here, and it will save you $20 to see a doctor in Kathmandu." I said, $20, like £15. Are you seriously intending to chop off my fingers in a freezing cold tent at 20,000 feet with a rusty saw and no anesthetic? You're crazy! Leave my fingers alone, you madman! I went to see the doctor. I paid the $20. Thanks to his care and my own superhuman powers, I still have my fingers to this day. But those 2 fingers are dead. I can't feel heat, I can't feel cold, I can't feel pain because the nerves have been destroyed by frostbite damage. Recently, a tender-hearted boy in Scotland at a school I did offered, out of the sweet, sweet kindness of his heart, to stamp repeatedly on my fingers to see if I could feel it. That was his idea of helping. Wasn't that brilliant? Briefly, I thought about turning round, but it was too far to go back. I would just have to keep going. I started trekking again, but the track quickly became a muddy mess. And then I saw a splash of red blood. Someone ahead of me was bleeding, and it was only natural for me to wonder about it. It's 10 weeks. Yeah, it's 10 weeks, and that's your toilet. It's a hole in the ground. Recently I did an event and a boy said, "Does it flush?" Does it flush? What's he talking about? It's a hole in the ground. Like a plumber is going to lay a 100-mile pipe up the glacier to try and flush that toilet. It's a hole in the ground. It's a very basic place. And it's also, and here I must warn you, that in the past, when I've said this next fact at various schools, some pupils have actually fallen to the ground, upside down, arms and legs wiggling in the air like dying cockroaches, when I've told them it's actually 10 weeks, by which I mean 10 long weeks without Wi-Fi. Could you survive? I know. Yeah, it's out there. And I took 250 bars of chocolate with me this year. 250 bars. Do you know Toffee Crisp? Have you ever eaten it?
No.
You've missed out on one of life's great moments of joy is eating a Toffee Crisp. But you know what? 250 bars is a little bit too much. And so I recommend if you go to Mount Everest, take a variety of chocolate bars because you will need them. And that's how you live in the camps. Obviously, all of your drinking water comes from melting snow. My only advice about that is don't melt the yellow snow. Because, of course, there is a lot of, if you basically want to go for a pee or whatever up here, you have to just go on the mountain because there's no toilets up here. It's a very basic place. So watch out for the yellow snow. And this is your world. This is the world in which you... now, would you say on balance that is a more luxurious place than your bedrooms at home or less luxurious? More luxurious? Less? More? Less? Are you sure? And recently, she's climbing here on a sheer surface of ice with just a few sharpened millimeters of steel in the ice axes in her hands. And she's also climbing without a rope. Now, this is fascinating, isn't it? Human psychology. Why would a human being want or choose to climb in the most risky way possible? Put up your hands and tell me, what do you think about that? Why do some people want to take extreme levels of risk? Yes?
Because it's faster?
Because it's faster, yeah, you might feel more free. Might be possible to go quicker, that's true. Yes, how about you?
Maybe she wanted to challenge herself.
Challenge herself, that's a good answer, yes. And a friend next to you, do you have a hand up? Same thing, yeah. How about you?
More adventurous.
More adventurous, that's right. Definitely getting out of the comfort zone with that one, yes?
Maybe she wanted to prove a point that women can do the same.
That's a very good point. Maybe she wants to prove the point that female climbers are just as strong and clever and brilliant as male climbers. Well, she certainly chose an interesting place, as I'll show you now, because the place itself was a little bit crazy. So it was actually an iceberg. Rock to a team. Can you see those little dots there?
Oh my god.
Yeah, you see the scale. It's like a maze. It's like a great big sort of crazy kind of maze, but it's a dangerous place. I'm sorry to tell you this, but 16 people have been killed in this zone by avalanches and things collapsing in pieces. The whole thing is moving. So it's a very strange place indeed. And when you actually get up there, you have a lot of sections where you have to use ladders to go across the crevasses. And one of the reasons why those crevasses exist is because a glacier is moving every single moment of the day and night. And my single piece of advice to you, if you end up going to Mount Everest at any stage in your life, which I'm sure that most of you will do, now you've seen this presentation because I've painted such an attractive picture of it, you should not, under any circumstances, look down. Because then, Your legs go wobbly, the ladder's kind of shaking. It feels so insecure. And this was the photograph I took, and I was really proud of that photograph because it was a great moment to do it. Now, we have one more book which I'd like to mention here today, which is The Lie, Kill, Walk Away, Please Miss. Have you got it there? Now, with this book, can you pass that over to me, please? Now, this book, this is, so I've introduced the Everest Files to you. This book also has a very strong female protagonist called Rebecca, and this is more of a thriller. This is, in some ways, a little bit further down the line. If you're an ambitious reader, this would be a good read for you because I designed it for readers a little bit older than you. But there's nothing about the content that means that this book's not appropriate for you, but it is a very, very fast-moving and, I hope, exciting book. Now, this is set in the world of bioweapons. It's a book in which, rather like The Hunger Games and The Maze Runner, it is about two teenage characters who get into a fight against some really rather nasty people. So that is the book Lie, Kill, Walk Away, which has been out for a month, and we're already getting some really lovely reviews, which is great. So I'm happy to sign those books. You could get them as a Christmas 6. You can see all the rubbish around. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but this is the truth. There's a dead body inside that old tent. Yeah.
What?
A dead body inside that tent. So we pitched our tent 4 meters away from a dead body on Everest, which is really, really tragic.
Was it really hard to read?
Yeah, it's very hard to beat. And then if you want to see the top, that's actually the summit. That's the summit of Mount Everest there. And here's a picture of me on the top, which is this one. There we go.
And is that you?
Yeah, it's me, yeah.
What's that? It's like ice.
So I got a special oxygen mask, which is for to help you to breathe because there's so little air up there.
But then what?
Okay.
Is that ice?
That's ice which is collected on the front of the mask, yeah. So it's very, very cold indeed. Right, good.